Hi, so my name's Farzin, and I grew up in New Zealand and studied architecture and design in Wellington, New Zealand, and about 4 years ago I came to Mumbai to work as an architect. So first of all, I'm going to take a look at some of the basic questions that arise when we begin the design process. Initially, we ask ourselves the following. Why do we design? We can see that a particular problem needs to be solved. We're trying to make life easier through a particular design or initiative, and hopefully aiming to impact people's lives for the better. Who are we designing for? Somebody who's essentially a consumer, more often than not, does not understand the full value of the product and can be unaware of what it entails to design in India, considering the amount of skill and the number of challenges faced to have even one product come into fruition. So that leads us to the final question: how do we get to the final product? So today I'm going to step back a little bit and focus on the initial stages of the design process and how it's our responsibility as designers to make sure it's not only about the final design and our thought processes as designers, but also how with other collaborators the final product comes into being. If we look at the timeline of the birth of a design idea, if we're empowered about the origins of our design piece and where it all starts from, we can in turn communicate that to our end users so that they're fully aware of what goes into the final product that they come to possess. So basically a little spin on the whole BC AD. We have 0 as our birth idea, AD after design, after the final piece, and actually what goes on behind the craft, and actually how to get to that one final product. There's a multitude of steps involved. So just a few months back, I decided to sort of start out on my own design venture. And some of the points I'm going to talk about are related to my experience in starting off work on a piece of Indian handmade furniture. Now, finding the right people. The main problem that I initially faced was knowing where to find the correct people, especially people that have an interest in doing something different. You know, to be able to find people who are willing to work with you on something neither of you have tried out before, are keen to learn something new, and accepting that mistakes will happen, and especially being able to rectify those mistakes, it's difficult to find and sustain. And when you finally find people who believe in what you envision, you know, to be honest, half the battle is over and you can become a team. So there's many craftspeople out there who are ready and willing and get involved in all this kind of stuff, and it's just about finding the right opportunity. Another problem is communication. You know, communication is not only about language. Fortunately for me, I grew up speaking Gujarati and Hindi, so that aspect is not too much of a problem. It's also about communicating the design idea. You know, most people that you come across, they like to respond with the, you know, the Indian head wobble, you know, ho jayega, kuch problem nahi, and everything's cool, you know, which is what they say. So, you know, I've spoken to people who've got perfect English, who don't have a clue what I'm talking about, and to others, you know, a bare minimum of sketches and a few keywords, and, you know, they're good to go. So initially, there's a lot of hand-holding required into getting the carpenter to work on a contemporary design. Most of them are used to working in a different style, quite an ornate style for things like religious plinths or, you know, using standard wood joinery, things like that. So according to me, I think once a little encouragement is given towards their lateral thinking, the craftsman can bounce back at you with some really wonderful ideas, ones that I can say I would never have thought of myself. So this is my first piece, which is called the Bombay deck chair / bench. So this was the first piece that I started working on, and it actually it took a long time to finish this prototype because it looks deceptively simple. The second piece that I'm currently working on, the same improved version, it's at a stage where a lot of the initial problems are sort of figured out. And these included the trickiest part of the chair, which is the adjustable mechanism. So the easiest solution seemed to come in the form of a German branded fitting, the one on your right, which is just a ready-made fitting. So the mechanism was already automatically sorted, and it basically just needs to be fixed onto the piece. So the interesting thing was it just didn't work from not only an aesthetic point of view. It was zinc coated when the piece was in profile, it was hanging down, and it just proved difficult for a lot of people to use. So many friends of mine would come over and spend quite a bit of time trying to get it to stand. So it wasn't quite as user-friendly as initially thought. So after discussing new options with the carpenter and the fabricator, we came up with a simple concept that tied in well with the look we wanted and worked exactly as intended, which is this mechanism on the left. So it's just a basic kind of the go-in deck chair, but just basically crafted to look how we wanted it to look. So it just goes to show that with a bit of ingenuity from the craftsmen, they figured out the problem in a way that, again, I said I probably could not have thought of. So sometimes what seems like a complex problem can be solved with the most straightforward solution. A little bit of time was spent trying to figure out how to make it better, and it was all done right here in Mumbai workshops. So this brings me to talk about perfection and imperfection. We all associate various countries with a specialist skill, German design, we think it's, known for its engineering and precision. Italian design for its high quality. Japanese design for its harmony and simplicity through form. So what do people associate Indian design with? In our culture, ornate furniture has always played quite an important part. It's known for being quite sturdy, quite ornate. For example, I'm a Parsi, and Parsis still have original pieces that have stood the test of time. I mean, you can't step into a Parsi home without finding like a big carved wooden, humongous wardrobe, as well as your typical Godrej cupboard. And in many homes, you still have your Rajasthani doors and your jewelers as antiques and for display. So how is modern design interpreted? So we're still in the nascent stages of defining modern Indian design. The market here is infiltrated with aping of products inspired from a Western perspective. And some of these have no semblance in our lives here. So, it's a bit of an identity crisis we are having. And we still haven't figured out how to combine the old and the new and push forward into new and unknown directions. Currently the majority of what is in the market is mass-produced, it's cheap, it's used for short-term only, and hence it doesn't have a design value, per se. So, clearly the observations I'm making indicate that there is a gap in the design market for the use of skilled craftspeople to explore their maximum potential and, create employment opportunities and the like. So we're a country that is good with our hands, so we need to pay more attention to that aspect. For example, we need our pants loosened, we go to a tailor. We need our shoes fixed, we go to the cobbler down the road. We're lucky to actually have these kind of solutions at the drop of a hat. And no other country I know of can you get things so instantaneously. We're known as like the doers and the makers, and we try our best to make things happen, and we never have a I can't do this type of attitude. So each part of India is known for a multitude of craft skills, as the previous speaker was talking about. Handmade jewelry in Rajasthan, Banarasi silks, weaving in Maheshwar, cane furniture in Assam. And while these are all well known, there's a lot of untapped potential still to make use of. These days, the legacy of a craftsman is fading with each generation. And a large part of that is because of the lack of value that we place upon these skills. You know, they feel like in this kind of fast-moving world, you know, maybe having a desk job, an office job is sort of a dream, you know, from the people I've spoken to. And, you know, that's clearly not the case, and we should not let that mentality develop any further. So by giving equal importance to the craftsmen, we're pushing them onto a platform where they can get recognized, and hence this recognition can give way to things like training centers where they can hone their skills and, you know, get a new generation involved in sustaining these crafts. So back to the deck chair. In this chair, several kinds of techniques were used, including experimentation in wood joinery, the form that the wood takes, the caning techniques, the use of contrasting materials. In this case, it was a juxtaposition of old Burma teak, so recycled teak wood, and stainless steel legs, you know, along with the fitting. So this gave a certain livelihood to the number of people involved in creating the product. You know, there's about 7 people involved in this, and because each technique has its own skill involved, it automatically becomes specialized and increases the value of the product. You know, if I had attempted carpentry, I would have like smashed my fingers together. So just to conclude, when we start to recognize design in its early stages, only then will the end consumer appreciate where it actually comes from and in turn realize its actual value. So as young designers in India, we need to look at design as a collaborative process which will then separate us from the rest of the world and give us a uniquely Indian identity. Thank you.